Welcome to the Happy Disruptors Podcast. If you're a creative thinker with an unconventional approach to your industry, you just might be a happy disruptor. Join your friends at the Great Outdoors Foundation for honest conversations about tackling critical issues like conservation with an uncritical disposition. If you like to smile and get things done, this is the podcast for you.
Hello, and welcome to the Happy Disruptors Podcast. I'm Kaitie.
And I'm Hannah.
And today we have two very special guests from Polk County Conservation. Welcome, Rich and Kami. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, I'm Kami Rankin. I am Deputy Director with Polk County Conservation, and I've actually been there. I'm in my 26th year, so I've been there quite some time, and did community outreach for many years, and approximately 4 or 5 years ago, moved into the Deputy Director role.
Very good. My name is Rich Leopold. I'm the director for Polk County Conservation, and I've been there a total of about 12 years now as director. And by trade, I'm an ecologist, a scientist, but have been having a wonderful time working with the staff there at Polk County Conservation for the last 12 years.
Very good.
So this year is the Great Outdoors Foundation 30th anniversary. Talk to us a little bit about the way GOF and Polk County Conservation's relationship has evolved over the last 3 decades.
So I'll give you the last 10 years, 12 years, and then Kami can go further. Obviously, she's been with Polk County longer than I have. So when I started, we were just about to do the Jester Park Nature Center out there at Jester Park. And it was a big campaign. And previous to that, the Great Outdoors Foundation had done a lot of smaller projects, and Kami can go more into that. But we were talking about a project that was going to require a lot of money and a lot of influence. It was a $10+ million project. So we went to the Great Outdoors Foundation board and we asked, is this you? Are you ready to put on your big girl and big boy pants and really get up here? And if not, that's fine too, because you were doing great stuff. Great Outdoors Foundation has been for decades. But GOF took the plunge and helped us with that, what ended up being a $10.5 million campaign. Now, since then, we've done a couple of more of huge campaigns and then everything else over the years. So GOF has really upped to their game, and it has benefited Polk County Conservation, the outdoor environment and outdoor recreation in central Iowa as nothing I've seen.
Yeah, so all of what Rich said, but prior to that, I can remember when I started back in 1999, and I had not been at work very long, and all of a sudden, Pat Bodie, our former director, was in my office asking me about the resurrection of the Great Outdoors Foundation. And this was a few years after I started, and so I basically didn't know what she was talking about, and we come to find out that actually prior to me starting, a volunteer group had actually filed papers to be the Conservation Foundation for Polk County, perhaps was the first name, I can't quite remember, but they had filed those papers to act on Polk County Conservation's behalf to be sort of a friends group. Well, I think the actual annual papers didn't get filed a year or two, and so it kind of went up and down. That's what you get when you have volunteer leadership. Sometimes that stuff doesn't happen, and it does, but that's my first recollection of the Great Outdoors Foundation happening. And so we started the ball rolling. I can remember pulling in some individuals like Bob Jester, Hubble, Jim Hubble, a few others that really were the spark plug, of resurrecting the Great Outdoors Foundation at that time. So we began meeting, we began talking, and at that time it really wasn't anything that we were thinking about that was huge. It was just about having a friends group and having the ability to have a nonprofit by our side in order to raise funds and get grants and things like that are very difficult, sometimes in the municipal or the governmental sector. And so that's really where it started. And I can remember we did the most basic things. We had, I think one year the GOF bought us like 2 kayaks, and that was the coolest thing ever, like we had 2 new kayaks, because that type of stuff is very hard to come by, just basic operating things. And an event we started, I can recall way back when, was an event called Buck Naked Knead Dough, and maybe we're getting more into that later. But that was an event, name inspired by Pat Bodie, I believe, and it was a fun way to do a fundraising event on behalf of nature and environmental education. And so that event went on for quite a few years, and we had a big hand in that, and it was a blast. So anyway, so that's what kind of was leading up to the part there where Rich started talking. And the only other thing I'll add is the one thing that sort of bridged the Nature Center campaign and then the old way of doing things was our first bond. So our first bond referendum, when we were getting ready for that, we were leaning on other groups outside of Polk County Conservation, like Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation and the Great Outdoors Foundation, to help us get to a place where we could educate the public and do what we needed to do in order to hopefully pass that bond referendum. And so that's where the GOF really started to kind of step up their game, where we really needed them to do that, and it was a success.
Well, Hannah, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot because you also, in terms of this overall timeline, you came on with the organization really right in the thick of all this, shortly after the first bond referendum, and then right in the midst of the Jester Park Nature Center capital campaign. So what was it like to be here at the beginning, in the throes of all of it? And also talk to me about the evolution of selling $5 firewood bundles, having the Buck Naked Knead Dough fundraisers, to now, the major capital campaigns we've done in partnership with Polk County Conservation.
Yeah, you're asking me that. So I came on just a couple, you had been at the helm for maybe 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that sounds right.
And so I had been involved with Polk County Conservation before that because I worked at Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation and was part of the bond. And when some of the board members approached me, the vision for what GOF could be sounded like a dream job, right? Well, certainly I loved working with Polk County Conservation. I loved the work that Polk County Conservation was doing and had slated now with the successful bond. But I felt like there was probably a bigger role for the nonprofit to play to help Polk County Conservation reach what their goals were. And so I accepted it on contract and sort of got into the details of the financials and found out that the contract was really being financed. Do you guys remember this? By firewood sales.
Yes.
And then, some event pro formas for events we hadn't really done yet. And anyone that does events knows that it's really labor intensive. I was the only employee with a great, very involved board, and then also tons of support from Polk County. Mm-hmm. But we quickly figured we needed to figure out a different financial solution. Although we did do Glow Wild, and that first one was overwhelming, which is probably overwhelmingly successful.
Yes. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people. We sold out in beer, and we had 2 bathrooms. That was not good planning on our part.
But a great bonfire.
A great bonfire.
Yeah.
We thought maybe 100 people would show up, and I think we had 500, 600.
amazing.
I think it was 1,000.
It was 1,000. That's right.
I think it was 1,000.
That's amazing.
And we had a 35-foot bonfire. It was huge.
It was humongous.
And we didn't anticipate this, but these are big, huge trees that have had the limbs sawn off, and there were kids climbing up the bonfire. Year 2, we had it roped off, but year 1, it was a little bit wild.
Lessons learned.
And by the way, the fire hadn't been lit yet, just to clarify. No kids climbing up a lighted bonfire.
Could you guys imagine if Michelle was...
She would be all over that.
She'd be like, no.
Yes.
So quickly we realized that we needed to recalibrate that agreement. And really, it was an agreement with Polk County that laid the foundation for the Great Outdoors Foundation to start to grow. And our promise was always to, return back to Polk County, 4 times what they helped invest into us. And I think over the years we've done that, but would not have happened without Polk County coming to the table and working with us of, okay, how are we really going to do this?
In the long run.
Yeah, and that whole firewood sales, it was trivial at the time, but at the time we thought it was a big deal. We have like 13 campgrounds. We sell a lot of firewood, but trying to calculate how much wood we were going to sell and how we were going to get it and how to distribute it way too small potatoes and complicated. So
yeah, it was and I remember I didn't quite understand the logistics of it when I came on board, and then I quickly realized, I'm like, I have to find someone to cut the wood, deliver the wood, all of that. And I'm like, I don't know.
You weren't out there with the axe?
Well,
I thought that's where the formal flannel might have come from.
Yeah. Doug and Kami helped me a lot with that. So
I love that. I know that it is, in hindsight, just such a crazy transition, but I do feel like that can be somewhat of an encouragement to other counties who are starting off. This wasn't built overnight. It's a partnership that's grown and evolved to, the needs that are represented at the time. So I think, we can all chuckle about that, but it is like inspiration to others that it's possible.
It is. Kaitie and I had the opportunity recently to speak at the Iowa County Conservation Board Directors Annual Meeting, and we spoke to that. We spoke to the fact that, yes, we're large scale now, but at the time, we were just trying to get money for basic operations, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I think it was a little inspirational to some of them that maybe have their friends groups and now can start thinking about, okay, maybe what's next? What's the next step?
Well, and I think the firewood sales is one of my favorite pieces because it shows Polk County Conservation's history and tradition of thinking outside of the box to make things happen. And in this space, especially when, less than 1% of nonprofit giving goes to conservation and outdoor recreation, you have to be scrappy. Right? You have to find those pieces. And then that gives you just a little bit of room to go to the next level. Yeah.
And to be bold. What's the Thoreau quote? Your castles are built in the air. That's where they should be. Now put the foundations under them. So when we went in with some of these big projects, we didn't have a method figured out on how we were going to do this stuff, but we had made a decision we were going to do this. Mm-hmm. It took a few different methods on how we got there, but yeah, it took boldness.
Yeah. And I think that's where, sort of our mantra at the Great Outdoors Foundation, everything is figure-outable.
Mm-hmm.
It was born out of that, right? So, okay. So when you talk about a lot of the things that we've been talking about and what you guys helped create by creating Great Outdoors Foundation is really the nexus of the public-private partnership. Can you talk a little bit about the value of the public-private partnership from your perspective as the public entity?
Yeah. Boy, I think, when you work in government, you do not have the mindset, right, that the people in the private sector have. It's just a different way of thinking. It's a different way of doing business and operations. So I think being involved with the Great Outdoors Foundation and through all of our partnerships that we've established with a lot of companies and other nonprofits in our community has really evolved us as a county municipality. I mean, like our unit, I can see that even not only myself, but most people in our agency look at things differently than if you talk to other counties in Iowa, especially in the conservation, they don't think the same way as we do. And I think a lot of that is because of these very solid public partnerships that we have. And we just think about things just a little differently. I mean, just before I came here today, I was in a fundraising meeting for a project that we're working on right now. And it's just, so rewarding and humbling to come to the table with so many people in the community that really are fighting for you and what you're trying to bring to this community to make it more vibrant from an outdoor recreation and a conservation lens.
Yeah, and I'd say there's so many private entities that have the desire but don't know how to fully express themselves within things like what we do. And so GOF, Great Outdoors Foundation, has acted as that conduit. Like, for example, that first bond was a $50 million bond. Now, we as a government entity could take $50 million, do some cool stuff, have fun, and that's it. We leveraged that out to another $42 million of the projects, $92 million of the projects. And that was with the Great Outdoors Foundation. So it allowed all these individual citizens and corporations and other partnerships and groups like that to have a way to do it, to be part of the party. So that when we were building a trail or doing an event center or buying a piece of land or creating a wetland for water quality, all of those things people want to be able to help with. They just don't know how to. So having a nonprofit like GOF gives them a ability to influence those directly.
Absolutely. It's like you read my next question ahead of time, but I really think this conversation around the bonds is so interesting. Kami, you touched on it. Like, that is sort of the tipping point for sort of pre-bond era and post-bond era. What, like, in reflecting on that, like, what do you think mechanisms like a bond can do for a county conservation board, and what would be your recommendation to other counties pursuing, similar opportunities?
Boy, I've lived through pre and post bond, and I will tell you, it is completely two different worlds. I can remember, like, just being so scrappy. I mean, that's a great way to put it. I mean, any little funding source that you'd see out there, you'd immediately like grab a hold of it and start trying to write a grant for something. And it was our staff. I mean, thank goodness, they stuck with the process and they did what they needed to do. But you could tell that they were always a little held back, And so getting that bond was just opening up this massive world to us and what we could do with extra dollars. And so we've just grown as an agency. We've grown as a team, as a staff, with our partnerships, So I know from my perspective it's day and night. And bonding is great for some counties, and it may not be the best for other counties, but I always tell them to explore what their options are, and if there's a possibility of doing something like this to benefit their community, definitely take a hold and do it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people individually that support what we do 1,000%, but to get popular views into legislative views or different funding mechanism views is another challenge. But this offered them a way to participate directly, to say, give Polk County Conservation a bunch of money, enable them with Great Outdoors Foundation, and let's see what they can do. And so that first one, we went out there and we leveraged it. We did all these different projects. The public loved it. When we went for the second bond, which was $65 million, we had everybody crawling around us. So it wasn't just the public. We had the Taxpayers Association and school boards and city councils and all these different people that wanted the accountability. And, okay, we gave you a bunch of money. What'd you do with it? When we showed them, that vote passed by 81.3% of the popular vote. How does that happen in today's divided everything that we have everybody overwhelmingly that supported this?
And that was 2021?
Yes,
Yep,
late
21.
2021.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I was involved with both Rich and Kami on both bonds, and the difference between what we had to do for the first one and then the second one. I mean, the first one passed by 63%, 64%.
70.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was 70.
It was 70.
Oh, I didn't realize
Yep.
that. I was thinking of I will. So 70-ish.
Yep.
So 70% of voters voted to raise their taxes to go to Polk County Conservation for outdoor recreation and water quality. And then the second one was over 80% in a very political time.
Yeah.
So I think it speaks to the nonpartisanship of conservation and outdoor recreation. But also, I think it's a huge testament to what Polk County Conservation does, how wonderful the staff is, the experiences that people have from going to the nature center, participating with the naturalists, to any, to any of the parks. I think it shows how ingrained Polk County Conservation is in the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to find a better gauge for public sentiment than voluntary increasing of taxes. That's speaks volumes.
And we got the endorsement of the Central Iowa Taxpayers Association. That speaks volumes right there.
Absolutely. Well, I think this is a great point to pause our conversation as we head into part 2. But we are going to wrap up, as we always do, with our segment, Let's Whiteboard It. So in front of you, everybody has a whiteboard. And of course, because we have our esteemed friends from Polk County Conservation with us today, our question of the day is, what is your favorite Great Outdoors Foundation and Polk County Conservation initiative to date? So it could be...
That's a really tough one.
Project. Oh, yeah, we have some listeners who really like the sound of the caps coming off, so they'll
appreciate
that.
Comment on that?
I feel like I'm in jeopardy. Do I need to put a dollar amount down? I'm probably being old because half the people won't even know what Jeopardy is.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Answer in the form of a question. While they're wrapping that up, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you are listening and follow along with the Great Outdoors Foundation on social media. We're on all major platforms. And while you're at it, share this episode with a friend who would like to know more about the great work Polk County Conservation is doing. Oh, I forgot to mention, you can either write or draw. We'll get you on the next one.
You don't want to draw.
Yeah, you don't want to draw.
All right, who wants to kick us off? Rich, you look eager.
Do we have that music like dun dun dun?
Oh yeah,
dun,
Icky
dun,
will
dun,
add it
dun.
in post for sure.
So mine, and we've already talked about it, was just the Jester Park Nature Center. And it's not just because it's an awesome building, but it was the first where we really stretched the vision to talk about, GOF is doing all these really cool things. What if we did these cool things and just raised the ceiling? And what it did, not just for the center itself, but environmental education, outdoor recreation, preservation of natural resources, all of those efforts were magnified by orders of magnification when we did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
To go next.
All right, Kami.
Okay, so I actually picked the other large-scale fundraising project that we've done in the last few years, the Athene North Shore Recreation Area, which is at Easter Lake. So this project was interesting because it started off relatively small, but then grew to a relatively large fundraising project. It went from all the way from $4 to $8 million, all within like a year and a half. I think the reason that this would be my favorite project with our two agencies is the fact that this all happened right on the heel, right after COVID. Okay, so we started this project, and then COVID hit, and we had to stop. And, you just never know how something like that's really going to impact a project. And, we got through the COVID, the scare of that. And our leaders came back and started, and everyone embraced this, the public, because I think at that point when COVID hit and everyone was outside seeking refuge, they really fully understood how important the outdoors are. And so that was really exciting to see with this project, was how everyone just grabbed onto this. And yes, please continue to make our outdoors a good place for us to be and for everybody. That was the whole universal design concept with this project. So, yeah.
I have 3.
Right, how about you?
You have 3.
and Hannah drew
really
for extra points.
So, of course, Jester Park Nature Center, but most specifically the Streamscape. I was so excited to have something like that in Iowa, in Des Moines. It's still beautiful. I was out there the other day, and it's probably still one of my favorite features of any park in central Iowa. I love the story and what Polk County Conservation did with the accessibility at Athene North Shore. I feel like that is a game changer, not just within our community, but in the concept of what parks should be. So it's all abilities. There's a lot of different elements for people with different abilities, and really it's a great place for a family, no matter what they, no matter what the ability is, to recreate together. And there's just not a lot of opportunity. So I can't wait to see what that does for the future. And then one of my personal favorites was something that we worked on pretty closely together, and now it's just going on its own, and that's the youth conservation crew. So kids from around the area can work for the summer, really improving our parks, doing conservation work. It gets them interested into conservation work. A lot of times, some of these kids, it's the first time that they spend a lot of time outdoors. On Fridays, they get to go canoeing, and then at the end, they get to do a camp out. And we have started some scholarships, and that is one of my things that I really want to do more than anything, is to get endowed scholarships so kids that go through Youth Conservation Corps can become, go to college for conservation and continue the legacy. So.
It's pretty fascinating. I'll add on to that real quick that it does happen this way. It happens. The kids come, they're 14 years old, they have no idea what life is in front of them. They go through the program, they get excited. Next, they come back as leaders of the program. Then next, they come back as interns and seasonal staff, and then they come back later and they're employees. It's truly remarkable to see that journey with many of them. So the scholarship will be very helpful.
Yes.
I love it. Well, join us for part 2 of this conversation. We will see you next week.